Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here on time. I would like to thank you and then welcome you to this Ministry of Public Infrastructure press conference. The Ministers of Public Infrastructure, Minister David Patterson and Minister Adet Ferguson, would have called for this press conference because they would have recognized the importance of providing steady updates to the public on projects of national importance. So the ministers will be the ones primarily speaking to you today and will be focusing on some of the key projects under our agencies. So we'll be hearing about the Demerara Harbor Bridge Corporation, the Transport and Harbors Department, the Maritime Administration Department, our Hinterland Electrification Unit, and the Guyana Power and Light Company. So the ministers would also provide some insight into our preparations for Budget 2017, which will be read in December. So we'll start with Minister Patterson, then we'll move on to Minister Ferguson, and then we'll have some questions on the statements. We'll try to keep it within an hour because we know there are other engagements. After questions on the statements, we'll leave the floor open to questions outside of the statements. So Minister Patterson.
Thank you very much, and good morning, members of the media. Thank you for coming. Glad to see that we have almost full turnout. Long time I've seen so many cameras. First, I would like to address the public sector investment program of the ministry. The current status at the end of August, as well as what we plan to do to ensure that we can achieve an acceptable target. The public sector investment program, as distinct to the budget, I mean, because the media have previously made a mistake, is the capital works under this ministry, and I'll address this ministry's section only as opposed to nationally. This ministry has in our public sector investment program a total of $24.28 billion. At the end of August 2016, entered the month, we would have expended an amount of $11 billion, which represents 45% of our public sector investment program, and obviously we would have an amount of balance about 13.2 billion to be expended for the rest of the year. I want to make it clear before anyone misunderstands. The $11 billion that I'm referring to is actual expenditure as opposed to committed. So therefore, obviously, if I sign a contract for a road and I've only paid, and it's worth $1 million, and I've only paid, even though the money is committed, I've only paid an amount. That is the amount being reflected. Nevertheless, that we have committed most of the monies under our local component. There are two issues that I have to address. We have several foreign funded projects which unfortunately to date have not moved as fast as we would have liked or we would have budgeted. Primarily the PUUP on the EU IDB. As you know, that budgeted this year is supposed to be expended $2 billion. Unfortunately, we would have only expended about 4 or 5% of that. The primary part of that would be Lot A, which is the actual physical work. We recently signed last week a $7 million US contract for the management strengthening, which was reported, and Lot A, which is the works, is still being evaluated. I am told it is close to completion. So hopefully we can have that completed, signed, passed, no objections from IDB, Cabinet, MPTAB, and Cabinet, and have some disbursements before the end of the year. The second largest we would have is East Bank Berbice, which had budgeted 1.2 to be spent. Obviously, once again, the tenders are out, and it is awaiting no objections from the relevant agencies. We will have done our part, and I'm hopeful once again that sometime this month or early next month I would have a payment. The other major item would be the East Coast, which you know, the continuation of the East Coast Highway with the China Exim Bank. Unfortunately, that has not started as yet, and I am unable to give you a realistic time frame when that amount will be expended. The fourth largest, of course, will be the West Dam Highway, which you know is ongoing at the moment. It's currently 40% of the completed. You know, that's is a $42 million US project. The outstanding amount, we have disbursed quite a lot on it this year, but the outstanding amount is about, for this year's disbursement, obviously it's about $1 billion. Obviously that will be disbursed as the contractor proceeds with his work. So in total that is about 5.2 billion of the outstanding monies, which are the large chunk of the unexpended amount. So I wanted to bring that to the public's notice because I have been seeing a lot of public discourse on the state of the economy and the state of government disbursement. Notwithstanding the issues of the foreign funded thing, we have identified, and we are, Minister Ferguson, myself and team, we have identified that there is first in the part of the ministry an issue of capacity, in the sense of in the sense that we have a lot of things with the capacity to execute as many projects as possible. It is a matter which we are addressing. While we do have tremendous capacity here, we are finding it difficult to recruit qualified engineers, even graduate engineers, at the current Public Service Commission salaries, which for a graduate engineer, you will be pleased to know it's $80,000. $80,000, and of course, so it is a matter which we will be addressing, so forth. So we know, but the easier part, I do think, from the part of the ministry is that we can address our internal issues, because we have acknowledged it. We are not burying our head in the sand to say that everything is absolutely perfect in the ministry with our capacity. So, within the next 3 months, I will be seeking to address that any way as possible, so that when Budget 2017 is read, that we can address the identifiable and the resolvable issues. There is another issue in the line of capacity, which the ministry has to work with the private sector to find a resolution, and that would be a little more difficult than the actual addressing the issue of internally. And that capacity issue is that of our contractors and that of our the private sector to service the industry. Daily you would hear, and rightfully so, wrongly so in some cases, there are contractors and individuals complaining about the award of contracts, of them being able to access contracts. And so several, and I do say several, I just before the last I was in Region 8, last week I was in Region 1. Several contractors would have been awarded contracts since June this year. And they would have received our mobilization, and this is not a unique thing, they would receive, particularly in the hinterland areas, they would have received our mobilization, but no physical presence is there on site. In contacting them, they would identify they would have challenges. One of the challenges is availability of their equipment. Obviously, when we check, they have more than one contracts, but they have a limited source of equipment available to them, because obviously, and they're spread thin, yet they continue to bid. It is a matter, so that it was there on, and like I say, I was particularly disturbed on the Linden's let them trail. I mean, there are works that were out. That is an issue and a public topical issue. There are works that were tendered out and are yet to be to commence in any meaningful manner. And we'll soon be back in the rainy season, and there are works in Region 1 and several other regions. So we do recognize that while persons are bidding, and then there's no limit to how much a contractor can bid. There's a limit to how much he can execute, and after having signed our contract, collected our mobilization, we're sort of locked in until the expiration of the contract period. So we have to address that, and I do intend to meet the private sector and the contractors. Obviously, it's in the contractor's best interest to win as many jobs as possible. It's not in the ministry's best interest to have hard-earned revenues and inflows remaining unsolved. Yesterday, and on the preparations for the 2017 budget, as I mentioned, yesterday the ministry met with the Ministry of Finance to defend our budget submissions. Obviously, we are competing with several other agencies and government ministries to receive funding. We highlighted certain priorities, which is the hinterland areas, as well as improvements within our urban spaces. After initial discussions, my team will regroup again this morning, make a final submission to the Ministry of Finance tomorrow, and then we shall meet again, and the technical persons shall meet again to discuss the final disbursements to the ministry. Obviously, there are some marquee projects which are foreign funded, obviously, which would have mentioned before. The airport, I would say the airport expansion is moving apace. We've already expended the amount of money allocated for 2016, which was $4 billion. As of end of August, we've expended $3.8 billion because of the increased thing. The airport, this project has to finish by December 2017, because at the end of December 2017, the loan comes to an end. So we've been pushing the contractor to complete. So no doubt we may have to come for a supplementary for the balance of the quarter, which I'd be quite pleased to do, because it means that we're working apace. We are doing some interventions. One of the main things at the airport is a construction of a roundabout. Those of you who traverse the airport know that we have strangely 2 lanes merging into one, then making a sharp right turn at the head of the airport junction. So that all that area, that 4 corners, are under the ministry's control, and we are doing a large, sizable roundabouts and connecting roads to ensure that they all be completed by the end of when the airport is completed. We have 3 new tongues, and obviously, as there are some prerequisites that are required to be done when a area is called a tongue, and we're working at that. We have a large, sizable budget for that. We obviously, as I said before, the airports, the airstrips, the roads. We have what I have done in most part between myself and Minister Ferguson is had direct discussions with most of the townships, with all the new townships that we would have had, to see what their needs are, and we've addressed that in 2017. So I don't want to preempt what the Ministry of Finance will do, so I wouldn't give you exact numbers. At least I sour my extremely good relationship with the Ministry of Finance. I want to address 2 other issues while I'm here, and then Minister Ferguson will take over. I want to address the question of GPL. Both of them are on GPL. The submarine cable and the issues around that. The cable was damaged while works were being done in the channel. The exact cause of the damage, how it was damaged, has not been ascertained as yet. I mean, there are various things. What was done, having been damaged, obviously, it brings the excess power from feeding hoop and puts it on the Demerara interconnected grid. GPL has raised the cable that you would have seen in the newspapers, and we have identified where it has been broken. Quotes were sought from 3 firms, and to fix the cable. What is required is a special equipment called the splicer, which will be, you have to raise the cable and then install the splicer to fix it. So we have received quotes. One contractor has been identified in principle. It has not been signed off as yet. The works will take, after the arrival of the splicing equipment, it will take 4 to 5 days, unfortunately. So now it is projected to finish in the middle of November, right? I was optimistically told the end of October, but my maths calculated it to be the, and I like to trust my maths rather than others. It will be done in 3 phases. Phase 1 has been completed, which is raising the cable. Phase 2 is the splicing and the repairs to it, and phase 3 obviously will be the reburying of the cable. I want to address the question of reburying the cable because there has been media speculations on this. The cable, as I have understand, this is a project that was executed before my time, but the cable in the contract was required to be buried at a depth of 3 meters. Marad, as I do have it, at the time, I think when the contract was going on, had advised that it should be lower because we want to proceed, they would like to proceed with dredging the channels. You know, in my budget on a different fund, we were having a new dredge to dredge the channel. However, the contract was signed already, so it remained at 3 meters. I was told just now, prior to this, that there is excess cable at either ends. I do think they give me a number, but I'm too sure. So that that at a particular time, at the cost of the company, they will bury it a further the further required depth of no less than 6 meters. And that's right, because the channel right now is 6 meters deep. Marad, with the new dredge, will be carrying it, they're anticipating to carry it to 9 to 10 meters in depth. So obviously, if that happens, the current level of the cable will be exposed. So that is I have asked GPL as well to explore the option of a second cable. This cable, as you know, it does not only bring electricity, it has fiber optics and those things like that, communication, fiber optics in it and those things like that. I'm asking them to look primarily at an option as a redundancy measure, at purely just a armored cable to bring over the excess electricity, and this is something that we will examine in the future. And finally, for me, I'd like to address Bartica. Start off by offering my apologies to the citizens of the township of Bartica for the spate of blockouts that they have been receiving and continue to receive. In Bartica, we have 3 aged units. One was taken down about 2 weeks ago for a major overhaul, which is a scheduled maintenance overhaul. Unfortunately, while that overhaul on one of the engines was underway, one of the 2 remaining sets with service at the township developed a major fault. Thus, the township are only being served with 1 unit, and that is required. That is why you have the load shedding. I think it's 12 hours to one section and 12 hours to another section. As an interim measure, we've moved the set from Onvak it is, Berbice. It will be arriving now. 10:30 today is the thing. It went through the trail. It will be up and running, I am told, by no later than tomorrow afternoon. And fortunately, the 3rd set, which is down, the rehabilitations will be completed by this weekend, so by Saturday. So by Sunday, all 3 sets will be up and operational. We did experience a challenge. One challenge, which I mentioned is the availability to put the new set, land to put the new set on. As you probably would note, they have a land issue where the existing generator has outgrown the location that they have. And right next to it, I think, is a vendor's market, and obviously we can't, and we already have a set there. As a consequences, because of the necessity need, there is a piece of land to the northern side of it, which we had to rent. And the renter is a private individual who, knowing our dire position, is charging us $1.5 million a month to rent the piece of land. Unfortunately, we had no other option because, we cannot allow the community to suffer anymore. I do hope this is a very, very short notice, that we can find some other alternative quickly as possible, so that we don't have to pay no more than 1 month, maximum 2 months rental. We'll be working with the township. And for the transparency advocates in our midst, no, unfortunately, it was not advertised. It was an emergency, so therefore it's the only available land immediately next to the one side is the market and the other side is the private individual's land. So therefore we didn't have an opportunity to explore and get any other thing. So I'd like to thank you. That's my briefing. I'd ask Minister Ferguson to address us.
Thank you very much.
With my busy schedule, managing that time of the month could be very challenging. With Protex cotton surface pads, I'm dry and clean for 10 hours. With Protex, I feel relaxed and confident with their absorption, leak lock protection, odor control, and thermal technology. Protex, the protection, care, and comfort you can always depend on. Take advantage of the extra savings with 10 extra panty liners when you purchase 1-pack Protex pads. Be sure to ask for Protex pads. Enjoy the comfort and savings. Distributed by Superfoods. Call 223-1034 or 223-1035.
Thank you very much, Minister Patterson. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, a pleasant morning to you. My presentation I will make my presentation on the Transport and Harbors Department, and the GCAA touch a little on the Demerara Harbor Bridge and what HECI continues to do. On the Transport and Harbors Department, for the reporting period, we would have docked 2 vessels, those being the MV Sabanta and Kanawan respectively, and they're back out in operation servicing the Essequibo areas. We all are aware of the situation at the Supernam Stelling. I want to report publicly and apologize to the users of the Supernam Stelling there for the lengthy delay in getting remedial works addressed. But however, in the nearest of time, works will commence, and this will be done by the Demerara Harbor Bridge. We have given the approval of some $17,015,444 million to have the following rectification done: driving of cluster piles, replacement of the transom, along with some other things, and replacing of the metal plates. And these works are expected to last for 7 days. And as I reported, this will be done by the Demerara Harbor Bridge, because they would have done some amount of works to that link span bridge. Reporting on the MV Kimbia, this particular vessel is still in docked, and quite recently we approved, or the Parliament rather approved, the sum of $194 million This is to have 2 engines rehabilitated and replaced. I wish to report that the 2 engines were taken out from the vessel to head there to Damen shipping yards in the Netherlands, and it should arrive sometime before the month end, and it will take approximately 5 months for the vessel to be back in operation. So the contractor has given the assurance that the vessel should be back in operations between January and February of 2017. But in the interim, Lady North Court still plies the Region 1 route, Port Kaituma and Mabaruma respectively. And I wish to publicly report, even though it was carried sometime in the print media, that the services provided in the Region 1 area is inadequate. That was erroneously reported, and I wish to report that the vessel normally plies the Region 1 district twice in every fortnight. All right? So while Kimbia will be attended to, we still have the MV Barima. That vessel is still in dock. I had discussions with the contractor last week, and he has given assurance that the vessel will be handed back to the Management of Transport and Harbors Department by the 8th of October 2016, that is. So they have to replace the 2 generators along with the wrench. When this vessel comes back into operation, this will now supplement what MV Lady North Court is doing, so as to have a more frequent service to the people there in Region Number 1. For our capital projects, I wish to report that quite recently, Cabinet would have given its no objections for the following projects to be undertaken on the Transport and Harbors Department. That's the Goods Wharf. Some $65 million will be expended. The workshop, that's the admin building, and the Bartica. We will see some over $200 million being spent in that area. Reporting on the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, 8 ATC, that's a traffic controllers, they're currently undergoing training in Jamaica. Quite recently, August 3rd, 2016, we had the appointment of a new Director General, none other being than Lieutenant Colonel Egbert Field. So he took up his position from the 3rd of August 2016. With regards to the Guyana, to the Hinterland Electrification Company, the sums of $110,990,000 was approved in this year's 2016 budget. So far, they would have expended close to $50 million, and they continue to provide services to the hinterland regions and even give support to those utility companies. The Demerara Harbor Bridge, $150 million was approved. So to date, we would have expended $82,274,315. And those monies were basically utilized for the servicing of pontoons, replacement of hydraulic lines, amongst other things. So work continue in those areas. So I think that is what I would really want to report on with regards to Transport and Harbors Department, GCAA, HECI, and the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Thank you very much.
Superfoods assures the best quality corn and mixed vegetables. Our decade of experience and reliability certainly will help your cooking experience. Our farm fresh corn and mixed vegetables are always picked at prime season and canned to perfection. Once you taste Superfoods corn and mixed vegetables, you will know the difference. Superfoods corn and mixed vegetables, highest quality at the lowest price. Call Superfoods today. Located at 8 Rumfeld Industrial Estate, Georgetown. Call 223-1034 or 223-1035.
Thank you, ministers. We will now have questions from anyone on the statements of the So we'll start with Mr. Shibal.
I'll come to Shibal on the end of the first. Yeah, I'm just let him put it in. Yes, sir.
Minister, with respect to absorptive capacity of the ministry, I know you mentioned about the fact that some contractors have a lot of work more than they can handle. But what are some of the other challenges that you're facing with respect to absorptive capacity for some of these infrastructure projects?
Well, on the technical side, as we're talking about, is our ministry. And I tell you some of the parts, the issues directly we face challenging. As you know, since early on this year, we have advertised for engineers to be located in the regions, in the districts. I mean, so therefore, obviously, because I find that we are a Region 4 centric ministry at the moment. Most of the engineers. We have advertised twice. We've headhunted twice. My primary focus would have been regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. We are hinterland regions because to date I've only been able to hire an engineer for Region 8. Right? After what should I say, 6 months. And that obviously impacts on our delivery schedule because obviously each project that you do in the ministry, we would have to assign an engineer to it. And even though we have several engineers in Georgetown, if you assign them to outlying regions, they can only visit not, and sometimes they can only visit so often. I find that the feedback is not good enough, and the response to the ministry is not good enough. So that is one a distinct challenge that we have. Obviously, the weather, the terrain, those things like that. This year, I'm trying to boost our materials lab because obviously that plays an integral part in the materials, substandard materials. But the media knows the issues with materials. And obviously if we have limited capacity to carry out testing, that delays the work, that in effect can affect the quality of the product which we issue. So all the while, these are all issues which we have to address. And I have to also mention, which I did mention, the what should I say, in a very good way. I don't want anybody to consider it as a complaint by myself. We're quite pleased, but there is a expanding role for the Ministry of Public Infrastructure in the sense that, when I say expanding, we are doing most of the heavy lifting for the government in the sense that previously GGMC would have done roads, forestry would have done roads, all initial would have done roads. We've now taken over all that. In addition to that, there are question of buildings and the renewable energy sector and those things like that. And so we do need to up our game in the ministry. So that is an issue.
Minister Harris, sir, you complain about an inability to attract graduate engineers because of the low scale. However, traditionally governments have been known to enter into contracts for people in areas where there is a paucity of skills. What is preventing you from entering into contracts with these engineers?
The rules of the public service. That's not. Let's be clear. Under the Public Service Commission, the grades, and I don't know what grade a public engineer is. Grade 8, 9, 10. We have also we've even done. So that was the first issue. So I went to cabinet. I said this is impossible. You can't get an engineer. Of course, there's other issues going on now. So cabinet has said to us, fair enough, and they have asked and let us enter exactly what we want to do. enter into, get PSM to create positions. And PSM created the positions for these 11 engineers at $230,000. Even at that level, persons who are unwilling to go and work in the interiors and those things like that, even though we were providing housing, we were providing transportation. I'm talking to graduates, and I'm not talking about the seasoned thing. So obviously we are rule-based by the ministry, so I'm not going to be creating any sort of positions outside of what the ambit of public service ministry would have given us.
Sir, a quick follow-up. A quick follow-up. You talk about these contractors dilly-dallying, by having too many programs. But when you enter into a contract with these contractors, there are certain timelines. So if a contractor steps out the line, he breaches the contract, and you can revoke it. Why hasn't that been done?
Well, we are moving to that. I mean, but the problem is this. Contractually, a man is given a contract for, say, September to December. Technically, he hasn't breached the contract if in the middle of October it's zero. I mean, I could terminate at a certain point after, right? So that's where we are at. They have the contracts, I mean, so therefore, some of them, and some of them, the contract, like particularly one in Region 1, it was signed in July, the commencement order was given in August, and it's a 4-month contract, right? So that will be the end of November, end of September. So when I call the contractors, the engineers, and put them over they're saying to me, oh, well, we'll finish. We still have a month and a half, which we know it's practically, but they would be impressive if they can make it, but obviously you can't terminate a man until a contractual issue has been breached.
I think the Eugene F. Carrillo report was slated airport, I saw that. Airport report. Yes.
That's what I understand, no worries.
Yes, the report, it was listed on the press release. I didn't hear anything about it for one.
Well,
so I'm asking, what about that? And specifically, I wanted to know what were some of the recommendations in that report. 2, for transport and harbors, Minister. I didn't hear any mention about, though it would have been pointed out that the ministry is concerned about river beds, and I think you're supposed to be implementing this river patrol system. I wanted to know if the patrol boats, what would be the arrangement there? Are you going to, is public infrastructure going to be, or transport and harbors going to be one, giving them the needs, the gas, whatever, that is needed? And are you concerned about prosecutions specifically into these debts? And has the ministry tallied how many debts, river debts, for the years?
Let me take the first one, and see you handle the Mara. Eugene Carrillo, yes, the draft report has been out, and it's and the final submission. There's a draft, and the final submission has not been made by the lawyer as yet. Basically, it was a review of the lease and several other issues. The report highlighted what is known, that the need for the establishment of the review committee, the airport review committee, and those things like that. When the report is finally submitted, I will sit more first with NATA and OAI and the Aircraft Owners Association, and then obviously from that do a comprehensive submission, which I would have to discuss with Cabinet. The report, obviously, the you may question why the draft was not discussed prior to being finalized. It is a report on behalf of GCA and on behalf of the ministry. And it was very specific to direct the ministry and GCAA on certain deficiencies in which they found. It is not a blame document in the sense of to blame one side or to take one side or the other. It is to recommend for us the way forward. And after we have received that, then is when we should discuss it with the stakeholders, as opposed to having a document which the stakeholders would have influenced the outcome. That was not the intent of the government when we saw that. That's on the report. It's the marathon.
Thank you very much, Marcel. Thank you for your question. Let me just say, or make the clear distinction with regards to Transport and Harvest Department and MARA. Transport and Harvest Department is the service provider, and MARA is the regulatory body. So with regards to river accidents, that would be the responsibility of MARA. To address your questions asked, whether there is any, is it? Pardon?
No,
Lawsuit?
fuel.
No. The first question had to do with the patrol.
Fuel.
Good. So MARAD would be responsible for ensuring that the rivers are properly monitored, right? That's the first response to your question, your first question. With regards to your second question, whether prosecutions are likely to happen. Yes, as a caring government, we would like to see prosecutions take place, but there is a process that needs to be followed. So first of all, MARAD will have to do the necessary investigations, and based on those investigations, the recommendations made, then the government will decide whether to prosecute or not, right? With regards to the amount of river deaths so far for the year, I think MARAD is currently working on compiling that report. So I guess at our next press conference, we will be able to furnish the media and the general public with the amount of deaths, river deaths, for the year thus far.
Minister, can I also ask with respect to airport matters, how soon do you envisage the instrument landing system be replaced? Because I'm told that it is partly responsible for the delay in the arrival of some aircraft with the conditions of heavy fog. How soon will that ILS be installed?
Yeah, right. Let me just make it quite clear before the on-process don't know. There are two sets of ILS equipment at the airport. One is the glide part and one is the localizer. The glide part, as well as it is a separate planetary, it gets you aligned with the airport. So the localizer is the one that actually gives you the depth and the height and those things like that. That had to be removed for the expansion of the airport, and will be relocated. At an old airport, it was at the back of the airport. It will be relocated to the front at the new, more modern, the most modern part. It will not be there. Before I would say, I would conservatively say it cannot be there until first quarter of 2017. Because obviously, what has to happen, it is the airport, the sand level, sand filling, and those things that have to be completed, compacted, and those things, and then you put it, then you
And can you also say with respect to the Eugene F. Karai Airport, how are these concerns about anti-competitive or alleged anti-competitive activities by the Karayas being addressed? And also this whole complaint about the congestion there. How are those?
Well, with the establishment, with the recommendations, I said the Airport Review Authority will be in there. Obviously, there were certain caveats in the lease that should have been up and running way before soon the signing of the lease. whereby, you know, I mean, should the airport want to expand and those things like that, they would have, there was a mechanism in which the consultation and submission to the review authority, or if they were doing something and someone had an objection, this authority would have been it. Unfortunately, we are where we are, which is it was never implemented. But that is only one of the issues. I mean, obviously, so, we have to also look at the whole development of the whole airport holistically. Right now, I mean, it's all, there's also economics in it. I mean, and there's also the question, which I am not adverse to, to move forward. The government may consider doing some infrastructure work, as opposed to leaving it alone to the airport authority to internally fund it, which may not be, what should I say, to the advantage of smaller players. So there's a whole slew of things that we have to look at and going forward and it will commence.
So to get you clearly, the concerns about anti-competitive activities will be addressed in this report?
It will be addressed with the establishment, yes.
And the authority, when will the authority be established?
Well, as soon as we finish, out around the consultations, it's under the minister's discretion, obviously. So as soon as I put all the mechanisms in place, we will establish.
Any time frame?
Well, I mean, I would hope that we can do that by within 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. But obviously, I have to have discussions with the stakeholders before you actually do anything unilaterally.
Yes, you're a politician. And
not a good one.
You're being criticized, for not providing jobs. And this is back to the contract business. Each contractor was entrusted to create employment within the area of the working area. When these contractors screw up, it affects your political program. And you tell me that although you know that the job can be completed, you wouldn't rescind the contract.
Prematurely.
How does that help you?
Well, as I said, we have to look at internally the ministry, not only at, look, there are other factors. We have to look not only at our human capacity, we also have to look at the consultants, because no contractor can, we have consultants, can build something and there's a consultant on it and he doesn't address it. We have to look at the services that's being provided to us. And we also have to look at our procurement regulations, which we are looking at, implementation of procurement regulations in a sense. And obviously what may be beneficial is the stopgap mechanism, I think after 20% of the time expired and you haven't completed 20% of the work, it's grounds for us to terminate and those things like that. But right now it's not there. But we're looking at that. We're looking at it for 2017 because we want a full 12 months of disbursements.
Penalty clauses.
Penalty clauses mean for contractors and consultants. We have a habit in this to blaming the contractors only. And on occasions, it is the fault of the lack of supervision and lack of service by the consultant. Right now, there is no penalty clause for any consultancy services in existence under this ministry. There may be in other ministry laws.
Ms. Rodney has a question.
Ms. Rodney. Good morning.
Minister Ferguson, it has been almost 10 months since the political dispute which has been reduced. I don't know if you're able to report on the revenue so far or that situation. Is government in talks with the shareholders for the reduction? Because I think government said it will continue the reduction. And could you also report on the operation of the Berbice River taxis? Because I think persons are still complaining, most operators actually, that they're still losing out because of the operation of the river taxis, although the tolls have been reduced a bit.
All right. With regards to the Berbice Bridge reduction in tolls, to provide you with figures as it relates to the cost, I don't have that information readily available, but I can provide you with that subsequently. The government, as far as I'm aware, the government is not in talks with the shareholders. So I guess going forward, the government will seek to have that initiative, right? The Berbice River taxis, that is still in operation. We have 2 speedboats still providing the services both on the Rosignol and Nuansalam ends. As far as I'm aware, things are going smoothly. Quite recently, I think effective 1st of September 2016, we took a decision to have timings rescheduled. So the operations of the river taxis are from 6 a.m. in the mornings to about 9:30, right? It's peak hours, and then it resumes operation from 2 o'clock in the afternoons to 5 o'clock. Because in the past, yes, we have received complaints from minibus operators about not getting a share in the pie because of the timings, right? So we took a conscious decision to have the timings rescheduled. I am in receipt of reports coming from taxi operators. They are currently complaining about not enjoying or getting a daily bread. So I'm expected to meet with them hopefully before the week out so we can have that addressed. But I just want to make this point quite clear. Prior to the river taxis coming into operations, the Transport and Harbors Department had a pontoon providing services. And the time for the operations were between, I think, 6 in the morning to about 9:30 in the mornings. And then it resumed its operation from 2 in the afternoons to 5. So it's not a case whereby government or the ministry or the management of Transport and Harbors Department want to take bread out of persons' mouth. I mean, those were in existence long before the river taxis came into existence. So as a caring government, we want everybody to enjoy the pie. So the taxis must be able to get a daily bread. The minibus operators, they too must be able to get a daily bread. So we had to make a decision. Some might see it as a harsh one, but in reality, we want everybody to enjoy a piece of the pie.
The government is still subsidizing the river taxis?
Yes, at this point in time.
Okay, so we'll close off with a question from Mr. Young.
Question for both Minister Patterson and Minister Ferguson. Minister Patterson, we spoke about road works, but will the East Coast Road ever be completed? That's one. And could you give us an update? I know a contract was out for, I think, a walkway or sidewalk in the Old Avenue area here. Can you give us an update on that? Minister Ferguson, can you say if your ministry or the relevant authorities, if it is that they're probably looking at any license from any airline present for consideration? And the other question has to do with the boardwalk out at the seawall there. Can you please give us an update on that one?
No, Ms.
Yes, I will address the airline question. As far as I'm aware, no.
As far as I'm aware as well, no. It's one of those questions that people are asking me. I think Shabal has been asking me that, and we're unaware of that, any airline. On the East Coast Road, yes. When? Cannot say. The funds are already approved from the China Exim Fund. I can't, unfortunately, I've been beating myself, I can't tell you what is the hold-up. The contractor was signed, and the contract was signed even before we took office. There was a hold-up with Exim Bank querying the cost submitted by the contractor, and we have, and I've reported that before. The contractor, I think, Exim Bank felt that the cost submitted by the contractor was low. We said that unless he pulls out or signs, unless he says that we cannot do it, we will not. We will hold him to that. So what is done is a hybrid. I mean, the contractor has his contract remains what it is, and there is a provision in the loan, right, for any shortfalls between the existing contract. Woodford Avenue, as far as I know, the tender's been out, and it's at the National Epitaph for assessment, and we do hope to have that finished. And the boardwalk, obviously that is big in my 2016-17 budget. The money is it's here already. Well, when they say here in the region, not in the country, it's probably lodged in Barbados, but DFID, CDB and DFID are expanding our supervising agency. At the moment, the consultancy phase is about to start, so we retain the consultants, we're ready. I had a public tender for the boardwalk, and we have them. We haven't made an award until because we're now merging two processes, our local as well as CDB. Right, obviously, if we proceed on our own, we are responsible for paying the consultancy. If we merge them, win-win for us. We get the project done. The advertising process which we went through is still valid, and we move ahead. So there were 10 submissions. I think it was whittled down to 5. Everybody shared that with CDB, so they'll merge their procurement process with ours and move forward.
Where would that probably put Salinas, that resort that is out there presently?
Pardon?
The Salinas resort that is out there, but the KCC1 area, where would the construction of that boardwalk probably put them?
No, but the boardwalk is up to where the pump house is, and from as far back to the pump house.
But the matter with the resort remains in court, I think it is.
If the resort remains
if there's a battle between the ministry and the owner.
No, this ministry has no battle. This ministry is very, very clear on what we do. So I don't know. The battle may be
I know you put a
on
works,
and that's very clear, isn't it? So that's not a battle.
Well, what is wrong with having the resort here?
Huh?
What is wrong with having the Salinas resort?
There's several issues which needs to be addressed. Several issues other than just a resort. Right? I mean, there's environmental. The first hurdle is EPA haven't approved it. I mean, there's sea defense issues. There's mangrove protection. You know, I mean, the boardwalks one. So I mean, for us to do this boardwalk, we're actually first having a boardwalk government. We have to extend the shore zone protection out into the river. In the sense that we have to put breakwaters very far so that we can have this thing. Somebody just put in a boardwalk there north of the seawall. It's really sort of irresponsible. I mean, we have to extend our sea defense northwards to accommodate the water.
Minister, you see that resort removing from their property?
Well, I said I already know what's going on.
But do you foresee them having to remove the
I don't foresee any work happening unless everything is been approved. I mean, I don't know if that's possible, but obviously that's as far as I can see.
Okay.
Minister
I'm sorry, but we really have to.
Young lady, then I have to. The last one, right?
LaShawn Holmes,
You from where?
MTV News.
As regards to your statement, you mentioned yesterday your ministry met with the Ministry of Finance in discussions of budget for various projects pertaining to the hinterland and so forth. Can you tell us a bit about some of the projects this budget will be allocated to? Especially one issue I know of that is plaguing some interior regions, especially the one of Region 8, a village called Monkey Mountain, the airstrip. There's I think it's Medivac or something like that, the medical plane that goes into the community there to collect patients to carry them to Georgia, especially in terms of emergencies. There's one case where a plane went in at night but couldn't land because the airstrip was closed off. There was no light, there was no guidance as to where to stop. So the villagers wanted to know what was going on. The plane was very low. So they all went out with their flashlights just to guide the plane down. So I want to know what provisions, what will the ministry be doing to help with this situation, to help these far-off regions?
Well, I mean, I'm unaware particularly of the Monkey Mountain situation, but I can tell you, other than Ogle and now Eugene Kauai, no airstrip. and there are no other airstrip in the country certified for night landing. In the cases of emergencies, what is done, I know that through the ministry and through Ministry of Health, storm lamps are given to the community so they can rest. I mean, emergency storm lamps are given so they can rest along the side of the runway. So therefore, and that is in some cases enough illumination for the pilot to land. I cannot say if Monkey Mountain is one of those that has those, but I can, now that you raise it, I can look at it. And we have the reports, I mean, I think person can correct me if I'm wrong, but Monkey Mountain airstrip was not listed as one of those that are in critical condition, the actual airstrip. The airstrip is in fair condition, but I will address, and I will look into the question of the lights.
All other airstrips.
All other airstrips, but some of them would have had, some of them, as I said, I mean, I was just in Matthews Ridge on last week, Friday, and they have lamps. But I'll ask Minister Ferguson and the team to address that.
Okay, no problem. But just to supplement what Minister reported on, some months ago we have just completed airdrones policy to address all the issues affecting airdrones, such as lighting, asphalted airstrips, amongst fencing, amongst other things. So this document is currently under review, and what is going to happen after reviewing, then it will go to cabinet to get cabinet blessings. But in the interim, the ministry continues to do, maintenance works on the most used aerodromes in the interior. But now that you have brought Monkey Mountain to our attention, as Minister rightfully said, we will seek to ascertain what is really going on here.
Ministers, let me start with just one last thing. Are there any considerations, any thoughts given to pursue the construction of concrete roads as opposed to the asphaltic surfaces?
If you've been following, yes, right? If you've been following us, Madhya, the roads in Madhya will be concrete because of the heavy duty. We probably they hit some of the urban roads in the hinterland of lighting regions. We most likely would like to do them out of concrete. In the urban areas, in these areas, I think it's more economical to do the asphalted concrete, but in those areas like Madhya, Mabaruma, because those on those roads, not only do they have cars, they have the bush trucks and those things like that. So obviously it's longer lasting and wearing. So we're ready to commence that.
And can you give us an update on the construction of the Harbour Bridge? How's that process going?
The Harbour Bridge, we've obviously the feasibility stage, and hopefully I can get that out and running before 2017. The requests for, we're looking at various models of how to finance it, and the current most model is a private-public partnership.
Thank you, everyone.
Since we're on bridge, could you give us an update on the Open Bridge?
Both of us are engaged. Have an engagement with finance. I know you have another engagement. Yes, Minister Ferguson and team, we did an extensive report on the Hope Canal Bridge. Yesterday with finance, we decided that we would actually go out to tender now, or when I say now, it will be within the next couple of days for the repairs to the Hope, so that we can do it. We were seeking funding in 2017, but because obviously it's not the finances set to us, it's an emergency. Obviously we don't want to be raiding a contingency or anything like that, so forth. But they said that we can reprogram, and we have made a case to reprogram some of our funds to make this a priority. So we're going out to tender very shortly, and obviously we'll have that completed.
I know it was initially a Ministry of but can you say if the contractors would be penalized for that bridge?
For what? Not the contractor. It's quite clear that, as I mentioned, the contractor voiced his concern. They don't want us to be so easy. The contractor said, yo, what we're going to build here wouldn't work. And the engineer and the consultant said, we told you what to build there.
Okay, thank you, Minister Patterson and Minister Ferguson. Thank you, everyone, for joining.